Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to Arlesheim Curling Hall near Basel in Switzerland. We're at the 2011 Credit Suisse Women's Masters Basel. We're at the second day of play and our featured game today is a B group final game. And it's a Switzerland-China duel between Jäggi of Switzerland and Wang of China. And as I said, this is a B group final game. The winner of this game qualifying for the quarterfinals tomorrow morning. My name is Brian Gray, and I'm very pleased to welcome this afternoon alongside me in the commentary box, Bjorn Schroeder. Good afternoon, Bjorn.
Good afternoon, Brian, and everyone watching the game.
So you've obviously watched a few games this weekend, Bjorn. It's nice swingy ice conditions here in Arlesheim.
Yeah, the ice is great. It's good speed and swingy. So I saw a couple of very interesting games and situations.
The Women's Masters Basel, it's the second event on the Curling Champions Tour. The first to be played in Switzerland this year. And for those of you who joined us last weekend, that was the men's tour, continuing also in Basel. And now we have two teams obviously on form. And both these teams with a chance, if they can win this game, to be directly into the prize money. Which means to be in the top 8 teams who will play the quarterfinals tomorrow morning. Those games are at 8 o'clock Central European Time. The system in Basel, it's a 24-team modified triple knockout. As we see Marisa Winkelhausen. Number 3 on the Swiss team. So we join the game in the first end, Switzerland with Red Rocks and the Hammer, as we see Chinese number 3 player Yu Sun. Trying to come around these guards and trying to freeze on that red in the forefoot, but it's just a little bit too long. And that now gives Switzerland a pretty good opportunity to start this game with 1 or 2 points. Good from the viewer's perspective to see lots of stones in play, Bjorn. It's nice to see. Sometimes these first ends can be a little bit simple, a little bit defensive, but both teams have gone for it. We've got 3 guards in the control zone, so we should see from now on probably just a few draw stones trying to come around this pack of guards. And position A for Larissa here would be top 4 foot, just biting the red circle, fully behind those guards.
Oh, trying to get a second shot. Not quite, but still good.
So China electing to stay away from that now. She could theoretically come down and pretty much hit that red on the nose, double the reds that way, but probably a good call. Come round the other side, down onto the top of the 4 foot circle, lie in shot position behind these 2 centre guards. The problem that the skip will have here is that maybe not so many stones have been played down this side of the sheet in this first end, so the length could be a little bit unclear for her, but she needs to find a way to get at least half buried behind those guards in shot position. So Bingyu Wang, skip of the Chinese team, with her first stone of this first end. Line seems to be perfect, just a little bit short. Won't be delighted with that, but at the same time, always better a little bit short. She can push that up now.
Yeah, and I think you can see it fully, so there's a good chance to go the same path.
Much better being short there, of course. If you're behind the T line, it just sets up Switzerland for them to draw in. So at least like that, it forces Switzerland to be a little bit more creative. They have to push that red that they've played. So it's all wide open here in this first end. Pretty much anything could happen. And a lot will be decided with this rock if Michel Jäggi, skip of the Swiss team, can pump that red up into second shot position. If possible, maybe just a little bit behind the yellow that's just been played. Then she'll set her team up for a possibility of 2 or even 3 points. Michel Jäggi, first stone of the first end.
Curling lots, but still good.
That's an excellent result.
Yeah.
Of course, we'd probably have preferred to be in front of the T line, but she's got away with it. She has 2 nice stones now, fully hidden. And as we said before, China now forced pretty much to push this yellow.
Trying pretty much the same thing than Michel did on the other side.
So she's probably going to play about 2 meters longer, and she's just going to take maybe 10 centimeters less ice, 20 centimeters less ice, something like this. That's the combination that teams have to work out between the speed that you play and the amount of ice that you play. If she was to take the same amount of ice and play those 2 meters longer, then of course the faster stone would stay straighter and would probably miss that yellow completely. So that's all the judgment that these teams learn over the years. And if ever you need a good feel of judgment, it's right now, because she's facing potentially 3 rocks. If she doesn't bring this nicely into at least into the 8 foot, fully in the white circle would mean that she could possibly limit the damage. And this looks to be perfect.
Hurry, Shirley! Hurry!
Oh,
A bit short.
it's one of those, maybe if you hadn't swept in it, it maybe hit a little bit straighter, that might just have got into full 8 foot position for second shot. But it's going to be a costly first end, because I'm guessing Michelle knows the ice down here. And
2 options, huh? Can draw in without touching anyone. Or playing the same thing, a little bit more ice.
That's right. I'm guessing she's going to push it because she just played that, and she'll have a bit of more of a feeling for Well, the push is probably just that little bit easier. The draw is a little bit tricky. You have to miss the yellow maybe by a maximum of 10 centimeters so that it curls off the red.
Right.
So I'm guessing she's going to play just a little bit less weight than her first one. Michelle Jäggi, last stone of this first end, with a chance for 3, sitting 2 already. Well, she's neither nor, unfortunately. It just overcurled a little bit. I wondered for a minute. It looked like she was coming through the hole, but I think the speed she played indicates that she was trying to push that one up, but she'll still be very happy with that first end, as we see Michelle Jäggi and Team Switzerland jumping into a 2-0 lead against Wang of China. Now, Wang of China, of course, former world women's champion. And as we wait for the start of the second end, we can take a little look at the other scores on the ice this morning. Jacobi of Germany against Barbiza.
Yep, Barbiza.
Barbiza of Switzerland, 1-0 Jacobi with the hammer in the first end. And then the other B final, and that's a bit of a mouth-watering combination. Annette Norberg against Jackie Lockhart. Sweden, Scotland. Jackie picking up 1 with the hammer in the first end. So the winner of that game also into the quarterfinals tomorrow. And then our feature game, Switzerland Jäggi against Wang of China. And then an all-Italy affair. This is a C group game. Gaspari against Gualtiero, and they are yet to hang up the first end. They're still playing that first end. And those are the 4 games that we have for you on the upper deck here in Arlesheim. I can tell you also there's games going on the lower deck. We have Drindl of Germany against McManus of Sweden, and that game is 0-0, and they've started the second end, a blank end in the first. And also going on the lower deck is Wild of Switzerland against Krota, and they are yet to score. So there's 6 games going on this afternoon in the Arlesheim Curling Hall, a mixture of B and C group games. As we rejoin our feature game in the second end, and we see that Jäggi started with 2 points in the first, and deliberately or otherwise has started with a centre guard. As we see Nicole Schwegli, lead player for Switzerland, now trying to come round that centre guard. It's a sign of confidence, Bjorn. If you score 2 in the first and then you throw up a centre guard, it means that you want to play an offensive game, and that normally means you think you're better than the other guys.
Yeah, but I don't want to blame anyone, but maybe that was not by purpose. Sometimes you try and play in front rings and don't want to be heavy behind T-line, so you end up just a little short. I don't know, but that one is a good one.
It's a very nice stone from Nicole. Just if that first one was a mistake, then she's redeemed herself rather well with a nice dolly biter fully behind that guard. As we see Yan Zhu, lead player of this Chinese team, with her second stone of this second end, looking to come down, rest against this red, but a little bit wide.
A little heavy.
So Michelle asking her big sister Stephanie to remove this stone. That makes sense to me. Switzerland don't have the hammer, so they don't want to have too many Chinese stones lying around. Ideally would like to hit this and just roll just a little bit behind the red in the 4 foot.
I agree.
But that's pretty good like that. Switzerland commanding the control zone right now, thanks to that center guard and that nice dolly biter. So China saying enough with this. We lost 2 in the first, we don't want to lose any more, so let's get this wide open and see if we can maybe pick off a double takeout as we're at it. As we see Qing Shuang Yu. How did I do, Bjorn?
Yeah, very good.
And very unlucky. Just a millimetre off, she would have got a double there, but she'll be happy now the centre's open. And what's particularly nice about that is this nice double corner guard. Like double corner guards, especially if they're just a little bit offset, a little bit one covering the other, it means that there's a lot of area in behind there that you can play a stone if you have the hammer. And it's a good chance to build up 2 points that way. So let's see if those double guards come into play. China will first of all have to deal with the stones in the 4 foot. Michelle just indicating a little bit wide at the moment. Just communicating the length it should be for the perfect line, and now it's come back nicely. And as you see, they're sweeping these center guards at the end, makes them curl more. So that was the reason they were sweeping that, just bringing that perfectly in line with the red stone on the button. Maybe just even curled a little bit too far. I mean, there's a little double on there. If anything, Michelle, maybe we wanted to show the other side of that red rock.
I would like to have it closer to the house as well.
Yeah.
Because it swings so much, and if you play a light takeout, maybe hack weight, something, you can get that short red rock there.
That's right, Logan Gray was here last weekend. He was saying even on full strike, the stones were drawing about a foot, which is 30 centimetres in new money, so no question that guard is a little bit long, but for some reason China opted to play the other handle there, maybe trying to use these guards. Now they've got a 3rd corner guard in there, so...
Yeah, if you go on that short rock and roll to the left side over behind your guards.
Switzerland, of course, can't really do much with those guards. There's too many of them, so they just have to accept that they're there, and they're going to continue to play offensive, continue to try and protect this dolly biting, 1 foot circle biting stone. Come down, probably as you say, Bjorn, half a metre short of the 12 foot, just fully protect that red stone on the button. And if they can do that, they leave China with a real tough draw at the end of this end. Once again, alignment not just exactly right, but China probably doing the wise thing and just going to try for a double here.
Yeah, as it's the 3rd in the rings.
Lots of angles here which can be useful. You can just hit and roll behind those corner guards like we've said, or you can double either left or right. And who knows, if you got the angle exactly right and you hit the hole as it were, you could probably just about squeeze 3 out here.
Well,
not a bad result, but Switzerland just saying that the stone's not biting the circles, so I'd expect to see them continue on their offensive track, and there we go. The problem here will be where to put it that you don't leave that double takeout. It's going to be pretty tough not to leave a double takeout, actually. as we see Marisa Winkelhausen, third player for Switzerland, just being asked to come round this yellow stone at the top of the 12 foot. Seems to have a little bit of pace on it.
Also doesn't swing so much.
China also got caught out there a little bit straight earlier in the end there, so indicating maybe just pushed it a little bit out. And like we said before, very difficult to play a stone down there without leaving a double, and there it is. Fairly easy double for China to clean up here.
And with a good chance to roll as well.
China with the hammer, of course, hoping to bring some of these guards into play, but being caught out again with the ice. Curled a good bit more than they expected, or maybe they just started that rock off a little bit, Bjorn, I'm not quite sure, but they almost missed that one.
Yeah.
Well away from where they wanted to be. So Switzerland now with a chance to continue their domination of the second end, and now they're looking for a stone touching that red circle, biting the 4 foot. And even if they rubbed that red on the way down and pushed that red back a bit and rolled off it, would be also a good result. They just have to find a way to get a second rock in there without leaving a double takeout. So Michel Jäggi with the first stone of the second end. Sounds to be a little bit wide. Interesting, she said at the start of that rock, she said just wait a second with the sweeping if you can, but as it turned out, it's over curled, so a little bit short. And unfortunately for her, maybe should have stopped sweeping that earlier and could have been partially covering that red. As it is, the red's just open. Don't know if China can get on the inside of that, but if they can, they would be on their way to 2 points, but I think the best they can get is just to nose that red. As we see Bing Yu Wang skip off the Chinese team with her first stone off the second end with the hammer, trying to remove this red stone, and if at all possible get a slight roll behind the center guard. She's on the red. So China really struggling with the ice right now. Quite a few mistakes there. You like that call, Bjorn?
Yeah, I would also go behind that one there. Curling too much, you hit your own red. On the other side, you would, on the other side, if you play the same as before and you're curling too much, you're on the yellow one. And China has a double. Well, maybe not, but depends how far you push the yellow in. Then you give them an easy 2.
I prefer to stick with what I know. I would come down there and maybe just tap that red a little bit, and if I could just roll off it. Even if I leave a double, they would actually need a triple to get to get 2 points. I think to change side now on the strategy book might look okay, but it's early ends and reading this ice is tough enough. And they're going to have a little conference about that.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if you play in your, what's it, the fourth or fifth game on that weekend on that ice, and the ice makers are doing a very good job, so the ice is very consistent, so you should know where to put the broom to go through that port.
That would be one option. But as it looks, if I understand correctly, we're coming down here.
Yeah.
So Michelle Jäggi with her last stone of the second end, trying to set her team up for a steal. She's big here. I hope she's not pushing that yellow. She's just going to curl off it in time. Wow, that yellow might just have sneaked into second position,
yeah.
Bjorn. China need to be careful here they don't remove their own yellow. They've had problems with icing down here, just getting the right amount of ice, and if they are coming with a takeout, if they do happen to clip their own yellow, then they would see themselves 5-0 down after 2. So I think, to be fair, missing if yellow is second shot, missing on the right side would be just to make sure you get that red, and if you do happen to roll out, if you think your second shot, well, you only score 1 point, but at least the game is still wide open. You certainly don't want to be giving yourselves problems by taking your own stones out, and that's the way she has played it. It's just going to roll out, so it's going to be a measure now for first shot, and looking at it there, it does appear to be red. So it's a steal of red, a steal of 1 for Switzerland. Switzerland go into a 3-0 lead after 2 ends. Nice start for the Swiss team. I'm sure they were expecting a tough game this afternoon from these ex-world champions. If you've just joined us, we are live from the Arlesheim Curling Hall near Basel in Switzerland. We are at the Credit Suisse Women's Masters Basel. This is the 6th year of this event, and this is the second event on the Women's Tour, Curling Champions Tour. My name is Brian Gray, and alongside me this afternoon is Björn Schroeder, and we're bringing you live coverage of this Switzerland-China game as we see a reminder about the World's Men's Championships coming to Basel, of course, at the end of March. Buy your tickets here, www.wmcc World Men's Curling Championships 2012.ch. You'll get all the information there about ticketing. And the curlers of Switzerland, of course, very much looking forward to the first men's world since Lausanne, I believe, which would be 2001.
Yeah.
I seem to remember. I remember Andreas Schwaller playing against Randy Ferbey in a heated, controversial semi-final game. And if my memory doesn't trick me, I think it was 2001. That will be the first World Championships, men's World Championships in Switzerland since 2001. I hope I'm right in saying that. Ferbey against Schwaller. So we're back at the start of the third end. Switzerland raced into a 3-0 lead here. Couple of fairly offensive ends. A lot of rocks in play. Nice to see. And at this stage, Switzerland coming off the better for those exchanges. And once again, Bjorn, if I'm not mistaken, they've started with a centre guard.
No, sorry, this time she put it in the rings, top 4, and tried to guard it up with the red one on the center line, but just didn't curl enough.
So they chipped the red out and
yeah,
they've rolled open, okay. That'll teach me to take my eye off the screen for 5 minutes.
Well. Trying to roll behind the guard. Well done.
And that's a very nice rock. Position A, I would say. Top of the button, behind that centre guard. Perfect.
Yeah, perfect sweeping judgment. Well played.
And those are in some ways the toughest stones to judge. And those are the ones that can turn games, aren't they? If you can regularly do those hit and rolls, especially behind a single guard, behind a double or a triple guard, something else, but if you can just regularly roll them behind a single guard, then you immediately have a huge advantage over your opponent, because now the opponent is forced into playing a rather tricky downweight chip. And the reason it's downweight is because if she thinks if she plays faster it won't curl enough, so she has to drop the weight. And that's what can then happen. So what they would call in tennis a forced error. Thanks to Switzerland's nice little hit and roll there, they've squeezed a mistake out of China. And now the big question, second centre guard, or do you go in there again?
I would go in. Because you're 3 up, and I don't know if you like that many guards around. So maybe a good chance to set up just a freeze or top 8.
Top 8, yeah.
Three quarters covered, half covered maybe.
Exactly, half covered, the significance of that being that the double wouldn't be possible.
Right.
And as you say, Bjorn, maybe top 8 would stop then the run back on the Yellowstone that's just been played. Other options to freeze right up on it if you see that the direction's perfect. Just a little bit soft. But if you are going to be tight, better to be a little bit soft. The last thing you want is to be full T-line and end up moving the centre guard off the centre line there. But Switzerland won't be too happy with that. This is a fairly easy double clearance for China. And if she's good, she'll just tap the yellow into the 12 foot as well. Oof, just missed. But China at least now can see both sides of that 1 foot biter, so they'll be quite happy that that centre is now opened up. Michelle Jäggi looking just to replace that stone. So we have to say in these first 3 ends, pretty much all Switzerland, Bjorn. It's quite surprising for considering the quality of this Chinese team. Maybe they're still struggling to get used to the European time or the conditions, but they haven't really shown their quality quite yet.
Yeah, Switzerland is playing very well, and the Chinese just can react on the rocks Swiss team is putting up. But still, it's a third end only, and game is still going.
Still lots of time. So Bing Yu Wang just looking at the options, opting for clearing, remove the centre guard, maybe the other guard too, keep the centre as wide open as possible. Oh, and that's a nice shot. Don't know if that was planned, but often these stones you just take what comes, one or other, it doesn't really matter, and she's got probably the more important stone. That stone that was biting the 1 foot circle was a serious threat for the Chinese team, so they'll be happy to see that go. The downside is that they have left a centre guard of their own. So Marisa Winkelhausen looking to come down, round that yellow, full 4 foot. Appears to have a little bit too much space at the moment.
Well, still, if it stops in front of the tee line, it's not so bad. Well, it's right on, right over.
Nice try, just 30 centimetres too far.
Yeah.
The significance of that is if it was just 30-40 centimetres shorter, China would have to push the red back to get shot. And as it is, China just need to come to the face of that red now, which means that they don't need to play anything more than tee line. So fairly easy for China to get back into shot position. And that's what's really been missing so far in this game. It's been all Switzerland. China have hardly laid in shot position the whole of the first 3 ends. And although we say there's a few ends to go, it's probably time that China capitalise on some of these half errors. And she's played it beautifully, and there we see just nudging into shot position. Perfectly played. So Switzerland now just hoping to get on the inside of that red. That's where they're trying for. They won't get shot here, but they'll do it in 2 steps. They'll put a stone in front of that yellow first, and then maybe with the last one nudge it out, or possibly just give 1 point is always good as well. If you're 3 up, you're quite happy to give your opponent 1 shot when they've got the hammer. Michelle Jäggi, first stone of this 3rd end, trying to come across the top of that yellow, just get across the top of it, so as we look now just to the left side of that yellow.
Looks good.
Needs to curl a little bit.
Just tapping is not bad.
That's an excellent shot.
Getting that red one on the back out of the way a little bit, but this one is perfectly played, and chances now of 2 for China pretty dramatically reduced with that shot. So Switzerland effectively, unless something changes, effectively giving China 1 point here. Hard to see how China at this stage is going to get a second one in there. If they can miss that yellow guard by a millimetre, they would come across the face of the red as well. Try and nudge the red out maybe 20 centimetres. Set themselves up for a double takeout for 2 points that way, but need to be careful as well. Risk is there for a steal as well, eh?
Yeah, they don't want to remove the backing of that yellow. If that red at the back gets moved off the yellow, it can very quickly turn into a nasty situation for the Chinese. Switzerland would then have the option of moving that yellow out to lie 4, so need to be careful. This ends in the balance, and at 3-0 down, a 50-50 end is good for Switzerland. Not so good for China. And that's a beautiful line. But not a good result. She couldn't have got closer to that guard, Bjorn, but what she's done isn't particularly clever, I would suggest.
I wonder who's line shot rock now. Still yellow, it seems to me.
Yellow for the next 60 seconds, yeah. Well, have to ask the question there, what really China were trying to do. They were very bold with that shot. But as we know in curling, it's not what you make, it's what you leave. And she's handed over a fairly easy tap to Michelle Jäggi, and if Michelle can play this nicely, they're going to have a tremendous opportunity to steal 1 or 2 points more. In my view, a huge mistake from China. So Michelle looking to come down on, I would guess, a down weight takeout. As she just said, just catch the inside if possible, but first things first, Michelle, just make sure you get past that guard, because as long as you get past the guard, you're going to be lying great. And if you happen to get the inside of the red, then it's looking really good for Switzerland.
Yeah, chances there to lie 3 after that one.
Oh, we have some technical problems. The two skips are, of course, mic'd up for our webcast so that we can hear what they're talking about. Michelle Jäggi last stone of her third end. Downweight takeout, nose the red or just a little bit inside, and she's going to go into a very commanding situation. Sounds to be completely under control, and that's perfect.
Perfect.
Oh, look how far that rolled.
Yeah.
Surprising, huh? It looked to be perfect. They weren't sweeping it, so they also thought everything's under control, but the difference between that red sitting on the center line and rolling that extra 20 centimeters is, well, it's huge. If that red had happened to stay on the center line, you would expect Switzerland to steal probably 2 points at least.
Yeah.
As it is, just rolled 20 centimeters too far, 30 centimeters too far, and now should be a routine removal for China, but we've seen them struggle with the ice here, and especially here where they're taking a little bit of ice and dropping the weight. Well, anything could happen.
And also it's a question of pressure now, down 3 by score and playing that stone against lying 3. But this looks under control as well. And
Needs to just curl a little bit at the end to get shot, and that's
perfect.
a beauty, yeah. Wow, how curling games can change. That was, I would suggest you, Michelle Jäggi was probably half a centimetre away from stealing 2 or 3 there. Could have been 5-0 up. And as it is, China have scored their 1 point with the hammer. Still very much game in Switzerland's favour. Switzerland leading by 3 points to 1 with the hammer after 3 ends. So a good game of curling, lots of rocks in play. It's what we like to see, offensive curling. But until now, Switzerland certainly dominating this Chinese team. And now the hammer's back with them. They'll be looking to score 2 more to really turn the screw on these Chinese world champions. And as this fourth end starts, we'll take the... there's some of the ice crew just admiring their work. As this fourth end starts, we'll take a quick look across the sheets.
Yeah, we're here on sheet 1. Germany's Jacobi against Switzerland's Barbizar, and as you see, the score 1 in the first end with the hammer, then 2 ends steal by 1, means 3-0 for the German team. Sheet 2, we have a steal in the second end by 2 from Scotland's team Lockhart, and the 1 in the third end, so the score 3-1 for the Scots. Our game on sheet 3, it's a 3-1 for Switzerland's Jäggi. The score is not on the board yet, but will be on soon, I guess. And the Italian game between Gaspari and Quagliatiero, 2-1 for the Gaspari team. And maybe Brian, you can give us the results from the lower level.
Certainly can, Bjorn. It's Switzerland Wild against Switzerland Krota. And I can tell you that it's 2-2 after 3 ends, Krota with the hammer. And Drindel of Germany against a very Swedish name, McManus of Sweden. And the score there, Drindel blanked the first 2 ends and got a big 3 in the third. So Germany leading Sweden 3-0. Those are the 2 games on the lower deck. As once again we see a mistake from this Chinese team.
Yeah, they put up the center guard, or the one short to the rings. Switzerland tried to come around with the red, 3/4 open, and as we just could see, the Chinese came back 12, passing the red one in the front rings.
And it's quite interesting, Bjorn, watching the men's last weekend. The common error seemed to be to over-curl, to crash guards and not take enough ice. But I would say China this morning, probably without exception, have tended to be on the wide side.
Was that right?
We had I think it was the hit in the second end, they were just a little bit wide. And we've seen a couple of those as well, just drift past. So China tending just to over-ice, if anything, in these first 3 ends. And they'll need to tighten that up. That's what championship curling is all about, is just to make the small fine-tuning during the game, and then suddenly you find your team, instead of playing maybe 50 or 60%, jumping up to 80%. And that's what they need to do if they're going to win this game. As we see that red just rubbing the red on top of the forefoot. A little bit longer than...
Well, and as it is in curling, it's all a question of weight. You know, if you're playing that one 2-3 meters shorter, that will curl lots more. So the combination, it makes.
That's exactly right. As we see again, this yellow looking very wide.
But still, if the weight is perfect and it swings in and you sweep it at the end, maybe you have a good chance to get a quite good result. Well, don't know if this was what they were aiming for.
And the difference now, of course, Switzerland with the hammer, quite happy just to remove any yellows and lie around in the rings themselves. And if the Swiss number 2 player, Stephanie Jäggi, can just remove that yellow, hit about 3/4, roll to the right hand side of the 12 foot as we see, then Switzerland will have 3 red rocks in the circles and would certainly be once again in a very commanding position. But it's over curled. That's a beauty.
Almost.
Didn't really need to be that good. But she got it. She'll be happy. If she had touched her own one, it wouldn't have been a good situation. As it is, those red rocks lying rather nicely for Switzerland. And no double takeout possible. So China just trying to cleanly remove one, which they do. They don't really have any other option. They couldn't roll. They would like to roll to the centre, but they couldn't because of the way the red stones were sitting. So that was the best that they could do there. Nice stone by Yu Sun, Qing Shuang Yu, the second player of China. Keeping China in this end, as we see Stephanie Jäggi coming down, removing this yellow. Will be interesting to see which way they roll. Wanted to roll just a little bit wider to the left, make as much separation as possible. As it is, rather unfortunately, they've left a relatively easy double takeout. Although skip Bing Yu Wang just indicating a hit and freeze, but I think without the hammer I'd be taking the chance to get rid of these two reds. As we see Yu Sun, number 3 for the Chinese team, and she's obviously not wide. Wow.
Just past the garden.
It's too good.
Yeah.
Needs to curl, it seems. It's just going to hang in there at the 12 foot.
I just would say, as long as it hangs in, it's good enough.
No points in curling for being near the circles as such. Anywhere with the hammer, anywhere in the rings is good. If you can clear all the opponent's stones out with the hammer, then even a stone biting the 12 foot by 1 centimetre, it's good enough. China realising that now, looking to remove one or perhaps both of these reds. Well, almost. It's unfortunately wide open. Unfortunately, from the Chinese perspective, and it allows now Switzerland to remove this yellow, perhaps roll away from the centre guard, try to create maximum distance between those, well, the red that's in the circles and the red that's being thrown now.
Yeah, I also would prefer to roll to the open side instead of going behind the guard and sitting back behind of the tee line.
Absolutely. That's where the other guy wants to go anyway, so if you give her a piece of backing there, it just makes their job even easier, whereas if you hit this and roll away from the centre line, it just means that the other team really have to decide, am I trying to steal or am I trying to not lose 2? But this is curled a little bit more, and it's just going to go towards the button. Not a disaster by any means. If you've just joined us, good afternoon from our time in Switzerland. We're at the 2011 Credit Suisse Women's Masters Basel, and we're looking at a B final game between Switzerland and China. In the commentary box this afternoon, Brian Gray and Bjorn Schroeder, bringing you live coverage. We're in the fourth end. Switzerland dominating this game until now, leading by 3-1 with the hammer. China now with a chance to escape this end, but they haven't taken it. Has to be said, China really struggling, it seems, with reading the ice. I think they're executing in terms of technical. I think they're doing everything that they normally do, but they're just not getting the ice right. And that stone there was, first of all, it wasn't swept at all, and then there was a bit of panic sweeping, and well, they weren't even close to getting the roll. They've rolled completely out of play, so it does mean that skip or vice skip is being caught out by the amount of curl. And once again, advantage Switzerland. And Michelle Jäggi now going to be able to play the wide open side, put these two yellows at the same height. Just going to draw to the left as we look, somewhere in front of the, probably on the tee line.
I would like to make sure tee line. If it's a little over, no panic. But if you leave it in the front of the rings, I got the chance to roll behind the guard or even further more to the other, maybe a double. So I would make sure tee line.
Yeah,
a little more.
A lot of teams worried about going behind the tee line here, but there's just no way China's going to play a freeze, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, but China will play a freeze. If you're 3-1 up and you got the hammer and you're line 2 already, and China are playing a freeze, then you know they're in big trouble. Well, it's come up just 2 meters short of where Michelle would want it played.
Oh, maybe it's kind of short enough for the roll. So you won't be shot rock if you roll behind the guard.
Exactly,
so.
Yeah. That's right. Probably for that reason, China opting to hit the other red, but there is a danger of a jam. Those yellows at the back could catch them out, because those yellows are pretty much where you would be directing if you're trying to roll to the button here. So China need to be careful. Maybe for that reason opting for this.
Looking for a double.
It's quite a high double. You'd need a maximum maybe 1/4 of that first red rock, so you're hitting about 6 or 7 centimeters of granite. Rolling across. So China now looking to come down here, hit that red, and then roll across. Now she's really good. Make this double takeout. Silver curled. She might get a little freeze, but she's not going to be in shot position, so oh, look at the way it came back there. Mission accomplished for Switzerland. They now have an open draw for 2. So the Swiss domination of this game continues. But very important now that Michelle makes this. They've done all the hard work. They just want to make sure now they get full 8 foot. and they'll spring into a 5-1 lead after 4 ends. Michelle Jäggi, last stone of the 4th. T-line draw, line 1, looking for a second point. This one's very wide at the moment.
Yeah, maybe
Wow.
a little tick.
Little tick, yeah. Oof.
Maybe. Okay.
So Switzerland getting 2 points, maybe
Just-
the hard way in this.
Just going to say not the red one, please.
Switzerland picking up 2 and now into a very commanding 5-1 lead. It's all Switzerland in these first four ends. China going to have to adapt, fine-tune, get their icing right, and above all have a very good 5th end, because they're going to need at least 2, or slowly the game's going to go out of their reach. Ends are counting down. So I can tell you the path that Michelle Jäggi took to get to this B Road final game. She played against Gualtiero of Italy in the first game and won that 9 points to 2. Then lost to Silvana Tiranzoni by 6 points to 2 in the second game. Dropped down to the B group, where she played Diana Gaspari of Italy, winning 5-3. And then this morning, a very nice win against Andrea Schopp, 5 points to 4. That was Michelle's road to this B group final. Wang started against McManus of Sweden, won out there by 9 points to 3. Then came up against Felcher, losing out there by 7 points to 3, dropping down to the B group, where she then played Jacobi of Germany, winning there 8 points to 5. And then this morning at 8 o'clock, the red ice shift, she played against Klimova of the Czech Republic, and a nice easy win for her there, 8 points to 2. So the triple knockout, or modified triple knockout, always plenty of games, especially if you lose a game. Teams getting their value for money for their entry fees there, getting a good bunch of games, and of course whoever wins this has 3 more games tomorrow, so lots of curling packed into 3 days. As we rejoin our feature game, Switzerland against China, and we see Nicole Schwegli, lead player of the Swiss team, coming up a little bit short of where she wanted to be perhaps, or they managed to drag that into the forefoot. That's not too bad at all. And Michelle pointing out, needs to give just a little bit more handle. If you don't give these stones handle, this big swing in ice, they tend to, we say in Scottish, smudge. They kind of just, they don't curl so naturally anymore, they just sort of slide sideways, and that last stone there did kind of drift across a little bit out of control, so lots of rotation required. As we see Chinese lead player Yen Zhu trying to make use of this corner guard that she's just played. Playing a second corner guard. To be expected, 5-1 down. Needs as much cover as possible. And Michelle Jäggi 5-1 up. Quite happy just to remove any yellow guards out of play She'd be very happy just to give China a point here. So a very nice removal of that corner guard by Stephanie Jäggi, keeping things simple. And now we see the contrast between the two teams. China trying to make things as complicated as possible, as many stones in play. So they will try now to move these reds behind the tee line, but not out of play, and by that they ensure that there's lots of stones in play. Lots of possibilities for accidents, for mistakes to happen when this yellow stone is being removed. So China now trying to get as many stones in play. So they'll want that stone to stop. And it does very nicely, so an excellent shot. And meanwhile, Switzerland now all out defensive, just removing any yellow stones in play. No real thought required, just get that yellow out any which way. And of course now avoiding the two reds behind the tee line. If you've just joined us, my name is Brian Gray, and alongside me in the commentary box this afternoon is Bjorn Schroeder. And we are here for your help, so if you have any questions or feedback or anything you'd like to say about this game or curling in general, then please do feel free to drop us an email. The email address is at the bottom of the screen. It's CCT, Curling Champions Tour, at smartcurling.com, and we'll be very happy to answer any questions that you have. And as we speak, exactly what we predicted has happened, Bjorn.
Yeah, I saw it. Just stick on the back red, and now there's suddenly the chance for 2, maybe 3. And that's exactly what the Chinese are aiming for.
Yeah, you kind of feel at 5-1 it needs to be 3.
Yeah.
2, of course, is a good start, but 3 would really put them back in the game.
Yeah, in that 8 end game, just second half just started off, so
still some ends to catch up. As we see Marisa Winkelhausen just being asked to remove this yellow, which she safely does. But now, thanks to that yellow corner guard and the stone at the back, China with a realistic chance of 2, and as you say, Bjorn, who knows, even 3 points would be possible from here. Yellow guard perhaps a little bit close to the rings. Problem is, if you play a yellow stone on the tee line, the run back, the raising the guard onto the stone is fairly easy. There's only 2 meters of separation. If you move the guard another meter and a half further up, then the separation is then 3 or 4 meters, and it's a much harder shot. These are all the small things that add up. One thing's for sure, she doesn't want to be through. Just going to hang on.
he's just not.
And as we said before, it doesn't really matter where, as long as it's biting the paint.
Yeah.
So in some ways, although it's almost a miss, it's actually great there. It's as far away from that guard as possible. So only downside is there's a sniff of a double takeout, but I'm not sure if Switzerland are even trying that.
Oh, it's quite a big distance to go over to that other yellow, and you have to play a very hard way to catch both of them.
Yeah.
Make sure you hit the nose line too, and then you're on the safe side for a moment.
Keep China having to react to what you're doing. So a good result, safely done. The Swiss team playing a pretty nice percentage, I would suggest. Marissa's played just about everything that's been asked of her. As we see Yu Sun, Chinese number 3 player, being asked to remove one of these reds. And that's a very nice shot.
Just rolled in front of the red one.
Nicely done.
Yep.
Makes it harder because it forces the opposition to aim for half of the stone, or at least 3/4 of the stone. And then sometimes you get a mistake. This mistakes would either be, of course, a complete miss, or to hit on the nose would then drive it back onto the red, and the yellow stone would stay in the circle. So nice shot from Yu Sun, 3rd player on the Chinese team. As we see number 2 player Stephanie Jäggi holding the brush. Michelle Jäggi with her first stone off this 5th end. Looking to catch just over 3/4 of this rock. Playing a nice controlled weight, just off centre. Well, she got it. A little bit casual with the sweeping there, but she got it. Should have been sweeping that a little bit more. I don't think at that weight you would risk to actually deliberately play the double takeout. I'm sure they were trying to get red cleanly past the yellow there. Anyway, job done. But thanks to that earlier jam that the Swiss girls had on the stone at the back of the rings, China still looking okay at this point to get 2 points. So let's see now if they've picked up the ice since the first end. At the first end they had a takeout similar to this, hanging straight. And absolutely crucial now from the Chinese perspective is that they hit the stone on the nose. Sounds to be under control. Very nice shot from Bing Yu. To keep her hopes of 2 in this 5th end intact. Michelle Jäggi, last stone of the 5th for her team. Needs to just remove the shallow, and if she can just roll.
Try and roll over.
Wasn't swept enough. They didn't really react to her sweeping call. She was right. If they'd got that a little bit earlier, they might just have rolled. As it is, a fairly routine takeout now for Bing Yu Wang. And as we said at the start of this game, 2's not really the answer to all China's problems, but it's certainly a good start. This would put them at least within touching distance of the Swiss team. As we see Bing Yu with the last stone of the 5th. Hit and stay for 2. Safely done. So China crawling a little bit back in this game. Switzerland now leading by 5 points to 3. After 5, Switzerland, Michel Jäggi with the hammer as they go down the 6th. And as we wait for the start of the 6th end, Bjorn, it's over to you, and I'll have a look downstairs.
Alright, so sheet 1, Barbizak came back with a 2 in the 4th end, blank in the 5th, playing the 6th, 3-2 for Jacobi's team of Germany. And Annette Norberty, steal 2 and 2, making a 5-3 lead to Lockhart's team from Scotland. As we saw our game, 5-3 at the moment in the 6th. And 2-2 in the Italian game between Gaspari and Gualtiero. Brian, what do you see downstairs?
We have the all-Swiss C group game, Wild against Krota. And Wild has picked up 2 in the 5th to go into a 4-3 lead. Krota with the hammer. And we have Drindel of Germany. Well, McManus against Mike McManus of Sweden, and McManus of Sweden has picked up 1 in the 4 and stolen 1 in the 5, so that game now 3-2. Drindel with the hammer. Those are all C group games. For those not familiar with the system, if you're in B and you lose, you drop to C. And if you're in C and you lose, you're out. But our feature game, the winner of this game, will go into the quarterfinals. The loser will drop down to the C Road. To C Road semi-final game.
Well, China just put 1 over the hog line, trying to bring 1 behind, still in front of the rings. And Switzerland with their first zone draw on the T line on the right hand side of the rings. So China needs to steal. That's essential, and therefore they need as many rocks in play as possible.
And although the first centre guard wasn't particularly useful, that combination now is excellent. It's nice 2.5, 3 metre distance between those guards, and they're both touching the centre line, so I like it. Means that the double takeout on those yellows will be really tough. And if you do play the double takeout, your shooter's probably going to be staying more or less in the centre of the ice as well, so not the best first guard from the Chinese lead, but the second one certainly making up for that and almost guaranteeing at the end of this end that there's going to be shots in play. As we see Nicole Schwegli with her second stone crashing that guard. So China now playing a highly offensive strategy. They're not even looking to come into the dolly. They're going to play one more centre guard. The reason that they're doing it is they don't have the hammer. Michel Jäggi has the hammer in the 6th end. So China trying to build a wall, so to speak, so pardon the pun, and try and keep the Swiss out of that 4-foot circle at the end of the end.
And then later in the end trying to bury one of their own behind that wall.
And as we say in Scotland, first to the pin wins. Sometimes it's better now if you are Switzerland, it's just to get round those guards first.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get round those guards and stay in the upper 4 foot or even the 8 foot area, then makes it very hard for China to get in there. So Stephanie Jäggi being asked to probably play full 8 foot circle in front of the tee line round these 2 yellow guards. So we're guaranteed a high action end now, Bjorn.
Yeah. Needs it. Not behind tee. Perfect.
Maybe the team with the hammer would like to be a little bit higher. At this big swinging ice, you could probably come down there on a back 4 foot length and just chip that red. Who knows? We will see. But in all cases, a pretty good result. And we see China going wider and wider now to get this piece of the button. We've got a couple of emails in, Bjorn.
All right.
One is from a certain Nicole Strausak asking about your activities these days, if you're still playing or still coaching. What are you up to these days, Bjorn?
Oh, well, at the moment I'm more coach than a player. Trying to throw some rocks on a club level with some friends. But my main activity now is coaching.
And I believe you have a 20th anniversary coming up soon, is that right?
Yeah, I'm still young. Thanks, Brian.
What were you doing almost 20 years ago to the day? In April 1992, Bjorn, were you old enough to curl then?
I think so.
Okay. You were in Germany, I believe.
Yeah, there were some 10 days in Germany, I think. April.
Bjorn, of course, modest. He was world champion in 1992 in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, right?
Right, yes.
Who did you play in the final?
We played Scotland's Hammy McMillan.
And that was Kuzi Egler skipping?
Marcus Egler skipping, Freddie Jean was third, Stefan Hover second, and myself playing lead stones.
Thanks for your question, Nicole. And Nicole also asking about the coaches of the 2 teams, and that's right. Coach of the Jäggi team is Doris Torrance, who incidentally used to coach the Chinese team here. The coach of the Chinese team is Wai Zhang. Doris, if I recall correctly, is from British Columbia. I don't know if you're listening, Doris. I know you were in Bern recently. Sorry we couldn't catch up for that coffee. But if you are looking in, I'm sure you'll be very pleased with what you see. Your team at the moment dominating this ex-world champion from China. So thanks for your email, Nicole. Nice to hear from you. Hope you're enjoying the coverage. Nicole, of course, also no stranger to World Championships and European Championships in past years. And we also have a question from Hans Niemann or Nyman in Sweden, with a technical question about how do you prepare and maintain the running surface of the stone in order to get proper curl and homogeneity between the stones. Well, that's a good question, Hans, and we're not experts here. I think the man for that question is having a snooze just about 6 feet away from where I'm sitting. I think we'll save that question for Armin Harder later. Armin, of course, involved in ice making and also closely involved with Caves of Scotland, the provider of the stones at the rink here in Arlesheim. And I think rather than Bjorn or I having a bash at that question, I think we'll leave that one for Armin when he wakes up.
Better is, yes.
As we see a very nice tap back from the Chinese team. And as we predicted, lots of rocks in play now. And for the first time in this game, I would suggest China putting on some real pressure.
Looking good now for a steal. But still 4 red rocks in the rings as well, so
yep, 3 or 4 at this stage would certainly be shake hands, I would suggest.
yeah, me too.
But right now, hard to see. There is a double or 2 there. You could somehow get those 2 yellows out, but it would be pretty tough at the moment. But step by step, just keep removing 1 yellow, and then if your opponent makes a mistake, you effectively have a shot to win the game. So Michelle asking, third player Marissa Winkelhausen to come through that gap between the 2 yellows, remove the yellow in, I think it's 3rd or 4th shot position, and roll across. So this is a crunch keystone. Looks to be a little bit wide at this stage.
Yeah.
Now it's coming. It's just going to touch that guard. Oh, that is very unlucky.
Yeah.
Well, look at this. Just catches the yellow at the top, and
Just
even
a
worse,
little
just
bit.
picks off the red that was nicely in the top of the forefoot there. Curling's a funny game. Sometimes these stones can just switch the momentum. No question now, Bjorn. China in a very strong position here. And who knows, they could even steal 2 points from here.
Well, I haven't shot rock. Good thing is that Switzerland has the 2nd shot rock back 8 foot. I wonder if China's going for a double steal or just for the single steal.
Well, as you well know, only go for the double steal if you know you're definitely getting 1. If you're definitely going to steal 1, the number of times that you see teams trying to they just want too much. I mean, China don't need 2 here. They would like to score 2, of course. But more important from the Chinese perspective is that they definitely steal 1 point. And if they get that bonus point, then great. But don't throw everything away, sometimes wanting too much, and then what looks like could be a steal for 2 ends up being 2 or 3 for Switzerland. And it's time to shake hands. But no question from this situation, there's real chance to steal 2 points without too much risk. Question is whether you can get through that hole or not, over curl that yellow, come to the top of the forefoot, or indeed bounce off the yellow that's in the rings.
Question is if you stick on your own yellow in the top 4 foot, would you sit 2nd shot or just not?
Yeah, the red at the back might just be better.
A little bit.
Of course, there's still 4 stones to come. So even if she wasn't lying 2 here, she might be able to push it up with her next. China would just like to come into this area here somewhere. Maybe just move that yellow a little bit. They could also use the red. They could just bounce off the red. Just very thin. Oh, that's a nice shot. Or is it?
Which one is it, eh?
Yeah, maybe just a bit too far. It's a nice shot if yellow's better than the red. But what I do like is that yellow at the top of the 8 foot is effectively a centre guard, just protecting that stone in the 4 foot. So I don't think anything bad happened, Bjorn.
No.
Very hard to see how Switzerland can get shot from here.
Yeah, what options do they have?
Not many.
Raising the red one in the rings deeper to the 4 foot.
One option would be to push this red, just bump it up into the 4 foot circle. But my feeling is that the yellow guard is probably just about in the way of that. It's pretty tough. Pretty tough to get shot position from that. But as you say, not many options. And the problem with this stone, in my view, is if it goes wrong, you effectively open up the path, and then suddenly you could be lying 3 against and no real shot. So need to be careful here. If you open this up, by that I mean catching half the red and moving the shooter over onto the center line, creates a lot of space for China with their last stone of the end.
And what if we just open or peel the yellow corner guard off? I have 2 options for the last stone. You can roll with your own on the T line, and you can raise your top 12.
So this is
just get rid of that yellow corner guard on where she's staying now. Let China try something, but give yourself a chance to come in two ways.
Yeah.
And China couldn't block both of them.
Can't cover everything, exactly, yeah. So Michelle Jäggi with her first stone of this 6th end, looking to come across the red, try and over curl the red just slightly so that you're pushing the red back towards the center. So it needs to be real close to this guard, the guard that you were talking about, Bjorn. And she's curled a long way, and she's... Well, it was nearly perfect. But like I mentioned before, if it goes wrong, it can be a pretty tough situation. And now we see China with a double could be lying 4 points. Those of you interested in the European Mixed Curling Championships, which are running right now in the Turnby Curling Club in Copenhagen, will be interested to know that Switzerland have beat Denmark 6-3 in the semi-final, and Germany have beaten Czech Republic by 6-1 in the other semi-final. And the goal game is this afternoon at 3 p.m. Central European Time. That's the European Mixed Curling Championships. Big field of teams, I think 26 teams playing this year. '25, I'm reliably told. So a big field of teams from old countries and new. Romania in that event, apparently taking Scotland to the last stone.
Really?
Which is fantastic. So Romania up and running. Curling Alan Colaban there, the president of the Romania Federation. And this, we see a crunch stone from China. And there we have it.
Fighting for.
So now we know, Bjorn, that first stone that you mentioned, take the guard off, might have been the thing. Because now Michelle's got, well, she has got space, but not a lot. She can also rub off that yellow, I guess, but it's a pretty tough shot. And
well, what's it? The gap is 1.5 stones wide only.
You can hit the one on the right, but you can't hit the one on the left.
Right.
If you hit the one on the left, the right as we look, then you're losing 4. And it's just one of those huge swings that you want to avoid. So Michelle will be happy maybe just to touch that left on her way in. So Michelle would like to come through here.
And they're talking now about the double.
One option would be through that hole on T-weight. Just touch the left stone if necessary. Won't do any harm. And as you say, other option would be a full strike. Hit that yellow stone. Roll across. Now, why would you play the double, Bjorn?
Well, you get rid of maybe one or roll in, and you're lying second if you played halfway.
Exactly.
So
that's why I like it. If you play the double and you make it half right, you're only losing a point.
yeah,
If you get the draw slightly wrong, the draw can be tight,
yeah.
it can be long, it can be wide, it could be lots of things. And if you get it slightly wrong, you suddenly lose 4. And, well, just for the confidence would be a terrific blow for the Swiss team if they would lose 4 here.
Then you're 2 down if you lose 4 here. If you lose 2, you're just tied, and you still have hammer and 2 more ends to go.
Exactly. Although it has to be said, the double could go wrong as well. If you just nose that yellow, the yellow's probably going to sit somewhere and you might still lose 2 or 3. So, but I like the double. But it's a question of confidence.
That's right.
And
You can also go for a straight double and roll in, and then you have your
exactly.
second shot and you lose 1. So there are many more options than playing the draw.
The straight double that Bjorn's talking about is just to drive that one on there. Those double those.
Yeah, just
Right.
make sure you have the inside of that rock, and then if you have it thin enough to go for shot rock, it's okay. That's what
Exactly.
you want. And if you have it not enough, so you have to double the straight way and roll half a rock inside, and then you're lying second. Give up 1.
The nice thing about these 2 stones, Bjorn, is that there's no real hole there.
Yeah.
So the red should not leave the rings. Those yellows should catch your red shooter. Just try that again. What we're saying is that the shooter's going to go somewhere in there, but with unless she's really unlucky, The red should stay at least somewhere near the 4 foot, and as we said before, minimizing the damage to probably a maximum of 1.
再大一点撕楞了，我觉得。他们击打挺有不信。会柔我感觉好像。
Take out it is.
Sorry, the question also would be, what weight will you play that double?
Doesn't need to be a bullet.
No. A lot of the team are overdoing it, like playing it too fast. All
Well,
right.
that's exactly what we spoke about, and you have to say a big bravo to Switzerland there, getting out of a big hole, playing the sensible shot, playing the percentage shot. Lots of angles there could have worked out nicely for them, and as it is, China steal 1 point, Switzerland retain the lead, 5 points to 4 after 6 ends.
OK， 3区，向人这侧，踩要 ，hurry。
Okay, as we saw before, same strategy from the Chinese team. Keep as many rocks in play as possible. Try another steal. And for sure the other way around for the Swiss team.
I think it's fair to say China showing for the first time in that 6th end just how dangerous they can be.
Yeah.
First time we've really seen real pressure on Michelle Jäggi to play a last shot, but she delivered.
Now the mental aspect comes into play as well. Coming from a big lead and now seeing yourself just 1 up, well, still with the hammer. Or from the perspective of the Chinese team, coming back from down by 3, now having just 1 down. Interesting.
China, yeah, absolutely. China, of course, will be a little bit disappointed. They would be hoping for maybe a bit more at that end. But of course, as we said at the start of that end, the most important thing is that you do steal. And they have done that. So 5-4, they're definitely back in the running.
They've got quite a lot of experience and used to these situations.
And they'll be very happy if they can recreate that kind of situation again and keep the pressure on the skip, the Swiss skip. They know at some point mistakes will happen, but what they cannot do is this. This is a huge mistake.
Well, I think they changed the strategy a little bit. At the end before, if you watch them, they put up another guard.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to go for the Swiss rock. Well, it's in the 4 foot, but anyway, for myself, it doesn't make much sense to go for that one.
Well, as we said before, the reason that 6th end was so complicated was because it started with those 2 long, very big separation between those 2 yellow center guards. And because of that, Switzerland realized there was no real point to even try to clear those guards. And Switzerland then immediately opted also to play offensive. And that's the reason that end got so complicated, and it was in the favor of China. But unfortunately, at this end, they've played the guard perfectly, and now they've effectively removed that center guard, turned it into a corner guard. And, well, in the space of 1 stone, if they can make this bite, Switzerland now in a terrific position here.
All in the control zone and one side wide open for, if necessary, a last stone draw to the bottom.
As I used to tell my teams, if you take off your own centre guard, you can expect to lose 3,
Yeah.
and the number of times it happens is exceptional. If you need a centre guard and you play it, then the last person that should be taking it off is your team. If the other team take it off, okay. But if you end up taking it off yourself, expect big problems. And the problems are going to continue if they keep playing like this, because they're going to just bump. And now Switzerland, well, to be fair, it's pretty good. They've bumped, but they've just stopped in time. Pretty good result for China. For those learning strategy, 2 things to remember. Don't remove your own centre guards. And if you do have hammer, don't play centre guards.
Yeah. Some of the basics.
It's a simple game, really.
Yeah. Well, but if you're out on the ice and trying hard to do, sometimes having a hard time. And this is perfect as
It's
well.
a very nice shot, yeah. From Stephanie Jäggi. And there you see China's problem. They've got 2 reds, there's no double takeout, and there's no real chance of stealing because that yellow guard is not on the centre line. So it's going to be a long end for China. Their role in this end right now is to try and limit, from this situation, to try and limit Switzerland just to 1 point. And Switzerland with that corner guard will be trying to get 2 or maybe even 3 points.
Maybe I was always thinking about changing strategy completely and trying to blank the end, or trying force the Swiss to blank the end, or scoring only 1. But maybe removing that one, rolling over, hoping for half a mistake, and load the guns for the last end.
Yep. We often see this situation. Would you rather be, if it was a blank end, would you rather be 1 down with the hammer or 1 up without?
Myself, 1 down with hammer.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain way you can play those ends that you get two chances to win, either in the 8th end or the extra end.
Right.
But according to Mr. Stuckey, the statistic shows that it's exactly the reverse. We were discussing this last weekend. Martin's been filtering through thousands of sheets of paper, looking at results from the last few years, and apparently there's a statistic that shows with the free guard zone that it's actually statistically more chance that you're going to win 1 up without.
Well, so I'd love to prove the statistics wrong.
Nicole Strauss with another interesting question, just asking just how aggressive should China be playing here? It's a good question, Nicole. It's a little bit what we're talking about. If China are convinced that someone should score this game, score this end, they should play a high level of offensiveness and really go after Switzerland here. That's one strategy. Or, as Bjorn has been saying, perhaps blank the end, in which case you're going to be playing a defensive strategy. In the practice, you have to wait and see. You probably start this end with a couple of ideas in mind, but then you have to look after 4 or 5 stones from each team and just see how the land lies, see how the situation is, and then decide if there's a realistic chance of a steal, and then switch the strategy depending on what you see. So there's China clearly playing a center guard. That means that they are either hoping to steal, or they're effectively going to give one to Switzerland. That's their strategy here if they're throwing a center guard in play.
Holding Switzerland to 1.
Switzerland, of course, removing that center guard. Hard to say from that what their thoughts are, but they obviously don't want to be held to 1 point. They would rather have a blank end or score 2. I'm guessing they would probably prefer a blank end.
I don't know. If you can score 2, 3 up, no hammer, you can begin, start the end. That's what I like as well.
3 up is clear, yeah. 3 up without is, in a normal situation, there's only one free guard zone because you're starting a free guard because you're starting the end, of course.
Yeah.
3 up without the hammer is pretty good.
You can start to shoot, playing takeouts.
So it's a good question. The answer, Nicole, I think, is a pretty balanced approach at the first 4 or 5 rocks of the end, and then wait and see what kind of situation presents itself. I'm sure China at all costs are trying to avoid a blank end. I don't think they would like to steal one.
Well, on the other hand, you can say how well it went the end before, playing very aggressive.
Yeah.
So why not trying another end in that way?
We don't know.
这球要么就必须得磕出去，你磕散了之后，人家对方正好一个找双飞。就把这打甩吧。
So on our sheet 1 here, just to give you an update, it's equal score 4-4 between Germany's Jacobi and Switzerland's Barbazar. Jacobi has hammer in that final end. Then sheet 2, Norberg got another 3 in the 7th after Lockhart scored 1 in the 6th. That gives her an 8-4 win. The game is finished. Our game 5-4, and Italians Gaspari has the big lead 7-2 after 7 ends. And let's have a look downstairs to the 2 games there.
In the all-Swiss game, Wild against Krota. Wild has scored 1 in the 7th to go 5-4 up, so they are now in the last end. Krota down 5 points to 4, Krota with the hammer. And in the other game downstairs, Drindel of Germany against McManus of Sweden. Well, McManus has stolen what we say in Scotland, a barrel load. Scored 1 in the 4th, then stole 1 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th and 1 in the 7th. So McManus now has raced into a 5-3 lead against Drindel as they play the last end. Drindel trailing by 2 with the hammer.
Back in our game, we have quite an interesting situation. Switzerland's lying short rock, China frozen on top of the 1, and now they decided to draw to the side. And I think they have in mind words like, let's see what China is making.
But it has to stop, Bjorn.
Right.
My word. Well, it's one of the few mistakes we've seen from Marissa. She's been very steady this game.
Yeah, she played some great shots in that game so far.
So strategically quite a complex end, things swinging backwards and forwards. Now now China realising that there's a real chance to steal 1 point here. So like we said before, Nicole, you wait and see what's presented to you, and here we have it. We've got a situation now where if China can come down on a controlled takeout, line those 2 yellows on the 8 foot up, they might not score, they might not steal, but they'll certainly force Switzerland to score a point. So thanks for your questions. As we see Bingyu Wang with her first of the 7th end.
A roll over to the bar and
that's a very nice shot.
yeah.
Switzerland immediately going for hit and roll behind those stones. So Michelle Jäggi with her first stone of the 7th, looking to come down, catch about 3/4, 2/3 to 3/4 of that yellow, and just roll to the hidden position behind that yellow stone. So Switzerland on the shot before were playing a draw, so it was effectively an offensive call, and now they're playing a takeout, which is obviously more defensive, so the strategy is swinging up and down here depending on the situation. 7th end or second last end in curling, very much like the 7th stone in curling. 7th stone from a team can often define the outcome of a game or an end, and the 7th end often critical for teams to get in the position that they want to be. So we see Michelle not even getting into shot position, so interesting end, Bjorn.
Yeah, what now?
Well, if China had any confidence whatsoever, they would draw the 4-foot behind that yellow.
In turn draw.
Absolutely.
Line.
Absolutely. This is a strange call for me. That shows a little bit the confidence levels, maybe. That's where she should be playing. And if she could do that, she could quite easily steal 2 points. Well, strange call. The one thing they need to make sure is they don't leave an easy double takeout here.
Yeah.
They have a real chance to steal right now, but they're not going for it. China are playing defensive. So Bingyu Wang with her last stone of the 7th end, taking out the red counter. Well, she got exactly what she wanted. But in my view, strategically not correct. Bjorn? You agree?
Yeah, I would say. Losing 1, fair enough. Missing the draw, losing 2, maybe not. But as well, shows the level of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, okay, I score that point, I don't mind drawing to the 4-foot.
Exactly.
I have 2 sweepers, trust them. And I believe if Switzerland loses 1 here, final stone in the 8th end will be a draw to the 4-foot.
Yep. That I think we can be sure of. If we have a repeat of the 6th end's performance,
yeah,
it's going to get pretty tough for the Swiss team, so they might want to score 1 here. Wow.
body language.
An exciting end there, and China have tied things up at 5 points to 5 as we go down the last end. All to play for. Switzerland with the hammer. Switzerland were leading this game 5 points to 1. China have brought it all the way back to 5 points to 5 after 7 ends. And now I think we can expect a repeat of the 6th end. A couple of centre guards with big separation between from China, and if they can do that, it's going to be a bit of a thriller, I think, Bjorn.
Yep, I agree completely.
So the momentum of this game changed in the 6th end, and it's changed even more in the 7th end now. 5-5.
区更好啊，1、2、3都可以啊。OK。
And now you'd have to hand the experience levels, you'd have to hand this more in China's favour. Of course, they've been to World Finals and Olympics, and Michelle Jäggi, of course, not an entirely unexperienced skip herself, but at the women's level, China perhaps with just that little extra edge. So Michelle Jäggi with the advantage of last stone, and China perhaps with the advantage of experience. Makes for good viewing.
And let's talk a little bit about the lead stone's pressure. If this comes top 8, top 4, it helps a lot.
Absolutely right.
So this can set up your end in your favor, or
not.
Or not.
You're absolutely right, Bjorn. If this stone drops short of the rings or beyond the tee line, then it's not good for the Swiss, but it looks like Nicole's got that absolutely under control.
Yeah. That's great.
Very nicely played.
Needs to be top 4. Doesn't matter if it's behind the guard or not.
I think I'm right in saying China calling a second centre guard.
Yes.
And the goal here is that they get as maximum separation between the two yellow guards. And if they do that, the Swiss probably won't even try to clear. Who knows? That's what happened in the 6th end anyway. If you can get 3 meters between those guards, but it looks like they're going for a shorter guard. One really at the top of the 12 foot, but need to get maximum distance there, and they haven't done it. So now Switzerland could turn the...
One more draw.
Well, there's a 50-50.
Well, for myself, I don't like too many rocks there. Maybe throwing it through is a hard decision, you know.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't throw it through. If I'm going to throw it through, I'll take one of the guards off.
Trying to chip one of the guard.
Ja, moet die immer al recht abgehakt hier, Body. Im 6. End. Hey, wat is het? Hoe snel is het? Ja, gewoon het.
Talking a little bit about split times. Making sure it's in the house.
Yeah, there's not much margin for error on these. Short's not good, and back of the tee line's not good either.
Chipping your shot rock behind the tee line and rolling over open would leave a big chance to China.
That's right, you don't want to leave a pocket round the dolly. Nicole had such a great first stone. Line is perfect.
Yeah, how about the weight? Looks good too.
Pretty nice result.
Yeah.
So China opting to go directly for the 1 foot biter, get into shot position and then guard. I personally, early in the end, would be looking maybe to angle freeze those reds.
Me too.
But that's what's interesting about curling. There's no real right or wrong. Different ways to skin a cat, as we say in English.
Yeah. Another question is to throw up another guard.
Takes a lot of courage to do that. The other two,
Yeah.
the other team lying very nicely in the 4 foot.
Yeah, depends what you think on your opponent. If you think they will peel.
But that's not a bad result from China. At least they give themselves a chance to bump that later. Michelle just discussing removing 1 guard.
But I think the peel is the right decision. And I see a chance to remove them both.
If you remove them both, it's not a game winner, but you're on the way. And if you happen to remove all three, it is possible if you catch maybe a third of the yellow on the left there. Come across the top. It's one way of doing that double. Other way, of course, would be just off centre.
Roll over to the 8-foot, 12-foot spot with the shooter or the one of the yellows. I'd be happy with that result.
Every shot now a crunch shot. A double take out here from Stephanie Jäggi would put Switzerland very much in the driving seat.
Good one.
She's got it. Very nicely played.
Yeah, and they're rolling so far on that ice. Perfect.
If you've just joined us, we're live from Arlesheim Curling Hall near Basel in Switzerland, and we are watching a B group final game of the 2011 Women's Masters Basel Credit Suisse. And we have a very interesting game between Wang of China and Jäggi of Switzerland. Jäggi leading 5-1 in this game. Now China have pulled it back to 5-5. In the commentary box, Brian Gray and Björn Schroeder. Glad you can join us today. Hope you're enjoying the live coverage. Thanks for all the emails. Nicole Strauzek still commenting on that seventh end. I agree with you, Nicole. Switzerland were right. They can go for two, and if it all goes wrong and they lose one, it's not so bad. And that's exactly what did happen. But in my view, the momentum changed a little bit as well. But you're right, if Switzerland had got two in that seventh end, it would have been pretty much game over. Complicated situation in that seventh end. Strategy swinging one way than the other. One thing's for sure, it's going to be decided right here. And the way the rocks are sitting, it's thanks to that double takeout beforehand. It's certainly advantage to Switzerland right now. And the difference between the 6th and the 8th, Bjorn, was that the separation of those centre guards just wasn't sufficient to demotivate Switzerland out of clearing. In the 6th end they were just too good, but in the 8th end there was only maybe a metre between the two centre guards. And Switzerland cleaned those up. We have a wide open end, and that of course favours the team with the hammer, which is Team Michelle Jäggi. So those centre guards crucial, and now China trying to play catch up, but as long as Switzerland can keep clearing those centre guards, then the writing is going to be on the wall. As we see Marisa Winkelhausen with a almost perfect game of curling behind her. Just rolling off. My goodness, that was close. But her shooter is still there. It's probably not going to be a real problem, but it's covering part of the 4 foot, which from China's perspective is better than nothing. We're bringing you coverage live from Arlesheim Curling Hall near Basel, and I can tell you that as this game draws to a close, we're back here at 4 p.m. Central European Time. And we're also on for the evening game, which will be some C group qualification final games at 8 p.m. So games at 4 p.m. Central European Time and 8 p.m. Hope you'll join us again. Just a little over an hour and a half. This is a B group final game. In the other B group final, Annette Norberg has walked away a little bit with Jackie Lockhart of Scotland, so Annette Norberg safely in the quarterfinals tomorrow at 8 a.m. So she takes the fourth quarterfinal place, and the fifth quarterfinal place will be the winner of this game. The other three qualifiers coming from the C Road. Those games tonight at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. So we're into the nitty-gritty now, as we see China place a very nice centre guard. China protecting their own yellow stone, expecting Switzerland to remove the guard, and then with the last China will try to tap that yellow up. It's really all they can do. I don't think a double on the reds is possible, Bjorn.
No, I don't think so either.
I think the yellow's in the way.
I wonder if China decide to push the yellow one right now, or still give a guard and wait for the last zone.
Yeah, it's a good point. Because you have to be shot.
Yep.
So maybe you might want to find out now if you are shot, and then you know what the last stone has to be. You can play this guard set perfectly. Switzerland remove it, and then you have to be shot, and shot's going to be a 1 foot biter. There's not a lot of space in there.
Not really.
Yeah, it's a good question, Bjorn. Of course, in curling, important not to make your move too early. But I think you're right in this situation. It's so tough to get shot at all. Might be worth a crack now.
Yeah, and don't be too late as well.
Yeah, 1 stone too late when the rest of the players have left the curling field.
Yeah, well, you throw up a guard now as from the Chinese view, and Switzerland doesn't remove it and try something in the forefoot.
Switzerland could call your bluff and say, okay,
yeah,
I'm going to throw a guard too, or I'm going to...
something.
And then, well,
Yeah,
looks like she changed her mind, Bjorn.
Yeah,
She's caught us out. She was talking about a guard a moment ago. It's a pretty good result.
But, well, I don't know. Sorry to say that. Yeah, what was this for?
Yeah.
If you just...
I think
what would I do? Let's talk a little bit about the options you have.
Yeah.
You can go with the double.
Double takeout, the high yellow first,
Yeah.
or the low yellow first.
Yeah.
You can do both.
Or just take the second shot, the yellow one biting the forefoot, rolling over just behind the yellow one. That a double is almost not possible.
Yep.
So let's think about giving China a hard time to play their last zone from the Swiss view.
Aber der muss einfach noch mal ein bisschen treffen.
Make sure you don't kill your shot rock, I would say.
Absolutely. That's just exactly what I was going to say for that reason I agree with you, Bjorn. I think they should be hitting the lower yellow first, and whether it turns out to be a
Make sure you have the inside and then
exactly
just roll over or chip the other yellow. Whatever.
if you can go in
Ja,
there,
dat moet je niet maken. Entweder gaan we op het opboord en we maken dat.
you are going to effectively
Maar
go
we denken dat we
sideways,
niet maken, altijd.
and this yellow would then bump up the way. And the effect would be that you leave your red
Zeg, wenn wir hier nochmal
Shooter.
Stay machen, macht er das Oppo. Ja, aber eben. Ich würde das Oppo probieren. Ja, gut, ja.
the shooter would then
Make sure you have the inside from the 4-foot biting yellow one.
exactly
That's all.
shooter would finish maybe somewhere there or maybe a little bit further over.
Or do you think there is a port to go through? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think
please,
that
I've not
higher
done any
yellow is going to
graph.
catch you nicely, and the two
Oh.
reds are just going to sit
In a straight line,
one on
maybe.
top of the other. Yeah, and if you can do
Yeah.
that,
Ja, dat is
it's
the same as I
as good as game over. So yeah, maybe not the best call from China beforehand. Now we've looked at the options. Interesting. I think she's going for the high one first.
No,
Now,
see
for
the
the
ice
reasons-
she's given.
For the reason we've just given, the high one first means her shooter will probably spin out at the top of the rings. Unless she's really good. Oh, she got
Perfect.
it beautifully, yeah.
Yeah.
The danger there is just to catch a little bit too much and then the red goes spinning out the top of the rings.
Yeah.
And then you leave China with a hit and roll. But she got that so thin, you can see maybe 1 centimetre. Perfect. But if you get 2 centimetres or 3 centimetres there, the red will remove both yellows and spin out the top of the rings.
Mhm.
And then China have a really easy hit and roll behind that guard. As it is, it's an excellent result for the Swiss team. And the problem China have is if they remove both reds, they're rolling out of the rings.
Yeah, then they're just gonna hope that Michelle will miss her draw.
And it needs to be a bullet. It needs to be pretty solid weight. The yellows are not exactly vertical, but if you're hitting 3/4 of that, it would need to be pretty strong to make sure both reds leave the rings.
Do you think there's a chance to draw in around the long guard and fit and biting the 1-foot circle?
It's a nice call, yeah.
I don't know if there's a chance.
If you're feeling confident, you can do that. Great if you make it. But now, Bingu Wang, last stone potentially off the game for her. Looking to double these reds, and it's drifting out. It's drifting out, so she's not going to be hanging around, I don't think. And there's the red, just going out of play. That's all she could do.
Well played and
Nicely played.
open draw for the win. Seems so easy when we're talking on the mic, eh? But sitting in the hack in these, what is it, 3.5 meters
Yeah.
of the painting gets very small suddenly.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, not the last stone of the last end that we expected, Bjorn, and it was all because those centre guards were
Yep.
just too close. It allowed Switzerland to open things up, and now thanks to a nice double with her first, Michelle Jäggi open 12-foot draw to put herself in the quarterfinals tomorrow.
How about the adrenaline?
Well,
Looking
it's not
good.
long anyway. It looks to be safely top
Yeah.
12. It's not long. It's just
It's okay.
it's safely in. Very nice. So congratulations to Michelle Jäggi's team from Switzerland. They have finally scored that 6th point
Yeah.
after a good hour's wait, and they've beaten China by 6 points to 5. China dropped to the C group semi-finals. Switzerland into the quarterfinals and into the money. Congratulations to them. thanks for tuning in this afternoon, and a big thanks to Bjorn for joining me in the box.
Very welcome.
Nice to see you, Bjorn. And look forward to the game this evening at 4 p.m. Hope you'll join us at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Central European Time. From now, so for now, from Basel, I wish you a very nice afternoon. Bye for now.